Testing, testing again. I just did this, but I'm doing it again. Testing. Welcome, my friends. Oh my God. Welcome to December 27th in the year of our Lord 2021. It is, as my phone tells me, 2:53 in the afternoon. The light is bright. It is a platinum day outside, which is why I pointed the camera at my windows and not where I usually do, at the wall behind me, which is boring. It has nothing on it. So instead of being there, you're here with me. Welcome. I am freshly shaved. I'm freshly showered. I'm feeling very nice. Life is dapper. Life is a happy little gem right now. And I want to show you something. Let's see if I can get around to it here. I'm going to bring my phone around. Yeah, I know you're at 50%. Stop charging for a second. I want to show the people. I want to show the people. Okay. 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 Recognize this? What do you think that is? That's our hedge. That's the hedge of Runman. By the way, this is episode 55 of Ride Along with Runman. I'm your host, Runman, a.k.a. Justin. I'll reintroduce myself in a second here because I'm not annoyed, but I'm feeling inventive and investigative. So we're just sort of parsing things out and treading new paths right now. I just went on a run. I came back from it. I did my shaving and everything. It was fantastic. I listened back to my podcast, and guess what I found? In the hour and a half that I recorded with this headset. Observe with me.
Well. If it isn't my grand and noble audience on a remarkable, impossible, gorgeous winter afternoon. Good morning, one and all. Afternoon. It's just a little past noon today. You're tuning in to Ride Along with Runman. I am your host, Runman. And I can't remember. This might be episode 54. It might be episode 55. When I figure it out, I will title this episode. I'll go back in my notes and see what's going on. And I can't believe it. Here we are. We're podcasting again. And in order to get podcasting correctly in the proper spirit of things, we got to give it a couple of seconds and a couple of steps and feel the air.
So, it's a clean image too. So, good people, fine people of the internet. That was going to be episode 55, I think, of Ride Along with Runman. Now we got to do this. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 do. Testing. Nothing. Goodbye. So, this headphone still works. This one doesn't. Now we know. The speaker doesn't. I did a few tests before that. The speaker wasn't picked up a few times, but on the 4th or 5th try, I got it to work, and I thought, because it had worked a couple of times before, that we were all gravy beans and good to go. Sadly, the funerary rites were already underway, and nobody told your boy Justin. Runman rode along in silence, although I was speaking and yipping and yee-hawing the whole damn time. So, what are the lessons that we've learned? We've learned that tech is tricky. We've learned that it is good to prepare, and it is good to put any effort at all into presentation. Make sure your equipment is up and running, and plan ahead. Also, I talked about getting blisters in that podcast. I talked about my knees falling apart. That's actually the reason why I'm doing this, because I wanted to update you guys and go over what I talked about in that episode. And just hit you with the cliff notes. That's all I want to do. That's all this is. A quick check-in, a quick check-up. I thought I could put out nothing, or I could say hello to everybody. So, with that in mind, let's begin with what, since I have visuals and I have a face cam on right now, and since I can't run, let's temporarily rebrand. This is Sitcast with Buttboy, or possibly Sitcast with Boneboy. I'm not sure, because I do feel like a big boner flapping in the wind right now. I'll tell you that much. Just like that. Just like that. Just waggling like an old man's accusing finger. Right there in the wind. So, one thing I can do here that I can't do when I'm running is I can show you the blister that I got. Ha-ha! That's cool, right? God, you can't really see the color. Yeah, you're right over there. Yeah, there it is. Ha-ha! Hey, boys! I'm a fucking blister! Fuck Run Man! Boneboy! Whatever you want to call him. So, that was one thing that we went over on that podcast. We didn't go over it in depth. We've talked about blisters before. Anywho, so we've done about 6 minutes of podcasting just now. I'm not intending this to be an hour or an hour and a half. You know, the regular old time we would be doing this for a podcast. Previously a runcast. Instead, oh yeah, by the way, if the light is bright and annoying to look at, I don't care. These are the mores that we're dealing with right now. There might even be some kind of a weird reflective shine happening. Yeah, when I move this way, it goes away, kind of. Oh, is that the sun behind me? No, it just looks like it. Anyway. Oh god. Yeah, the sun's over there somewhere, I think. Doesn't matter. So I would like to say we lost all that footage. We didn't. We were talking, having a good time. The time before, the same thing happened. So I'm now about, I don't know, like 3.5 hours of footage shy of where I would be. And it's been a sparse couple of months anyway. So I was struck by the bug today. I went to bed and I slept well, decently well. That came up in the podcast. I woke up with a spring in my step. It's December 27th, day after Christmas. Christmas was great, had a great time. And, God, I woke up, I put a marshmallow and hot chocolate mix into my coffee. That came up in the podcast. That was like the first thing that I said. I never do that anymore. I'm a black coffee guy right now. If you can't tell, my voice is a little raspy from all the podcasting that I did because I got the urge. You know, I woke up, I did my drills, I did my dream journals, I did my stretch outs. Maybe we can do one of those one of these times. That'd be interesting. Maybe we should. In the meantime, we'll just keep prattling on. I did all that stuff and I was feeling so groovy. And I thought, you know, it wasn't even that late of a rise. It was like 10:30 when I got up, and it could have been 8:30, but I went back to bed. But anyway, I felt so good that I had to do something. I had to podcast something. Well, the first thought that I had actually was, oh my god, I'm going to run today. I haven't been running so much. Oh my god, I'm going to podcast today. Here we go. Let's do it. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. I have so much energy. I can do this. Wow. So here we are. And I'm running and I'm having a good time. Sound cuts out. I don't know that it cuts out. I keep talking and having a jolly old time. It turns into a long run. It was going to be a whatever. It was a maybe. Well, yeah, it was a maybe run. And it could have been an uh-oh run, but it wasn't, so thank goodness. It was a great time. My knees fell off. My hips fell off. I got the blisters. I got actually them on my other. It looks more like burns, actually, on my other foot. That skin needs to toughen up. We'll get there. It felt good. And I said, you know, I'm not back. But it felt good to do this podcast. I got the yes. It took its time, but I got the yes, so I did it. So I had to make something of it. So, after all this heretofore what have you, I just wanted to check in with y'all and make sure that y'all knew. I'm still alive, still kicking, still around. It can't be Runcast with Run Man right now, but it can be Sitcast with Boneboy. So that's something, right? We can still do breathcasts. We can, until I get some equipment set up, or perhaps until I decide that I don't need the headset at all and I can just go bare with the phone and maybe hold it up closer to my face or something. I mean, Wingcam worked, didn't it? I'm able to hold my hand like this for upwards of 3 hours if I need to. I can do it for longer if I need to, I'm sure. That's not the problem. It's never the problem. It's always the feet and the legs and And those aren't even problems. Those aren't even problems. That came up in the podcast. They're just chances to listen. They're just chances to listen. And listen I did. Listen I did. Oh my god. So, here's, without any further ado, and I know there's been a lot. Without any further ado, here are just a couple of the things that we talked about today on this podcast. I talked about getting creative with D&D and how I was thinking about doing some writing in a fantastical, like, what did I call it? I called it recreational fiction writing. I haven't done anything like that in a long time, but I had a feeling that I wanted to do it a little bit, and I thought, well, what would I do? Where would I go with it? And then I brought up a character, because these things always revolve around people, right? Just like the podcast, it always revolves around people doing things. And this story came up, and I had amalgamated and hybridized two very different characters played by the same actor across two very different movies. I'm not going to say too different. Fairly different. One was the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and one was Roger Rabbit. The same actor played played the primary protagonist in both of these movies. And I thought, man, it'd be cool to amalgamate Mario, which was the star of Mario, and Valiant, the star of Investigator Valiant, the private detective from whatever it was called, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That actor was so cool. He killed both roles. I liked both movies. Everybody on the internet shits on that movie, but I had a great time watching that movie years and years ago. I probably would still like it if I watched it again, just because I don't have any attachment to it needing to be a good story. But regardless of what kind of a story it is, I thought, man, that'd be a cool character to play. He's like got the fire. He's got Mario's jumping shit going on, but he's also got the whiskey and cigarettes and gunslinging, fucking back alley, fucking sordid city side streets detailing that the guy had, that Valiant had in Roger Rabbit. You know, he's riding on the back of buses, like on the bumpers of them, and basically hitching a ride, and he's invading and investigating things in the cartoon world and shooting magic bullets out of a magic gun and all sorts of things. I've had this much water today. It's not enough. I talked about it, and I was having so much fun talking about it that I improvised a 20-minute sequence. You know, right around the time that we get to the walking point in the trail. I don't know, like half an hour in, 25 minutes in, something like that. You know, we take the right, we take the left out the door, we take a right out of the street after a few minutes, and then we go over, there's a park, and then eventually things clear out, and we're at this cool place, which is now a giant construction site. That came up in the podcast. Right around that time, and then right up into the walking spot, by the tracks, and by the mountains, and by the hills, you know, when I was doing the walking, that's when this sequence was coming to mind. And I was improvising the whole thing. It was a great story. It was a great time. Great battles were had. And, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Valiant was doing this? And all that was happening. Where does Luigi fit in? Jabba the Hutt came into the picture for a second because we needed an antagonist for a second. I was cracking myself up and having a great time. My knees are just... I'm talking about how my knees are rusty and falling off and all that good stuff. And I'm just losing myself to creative juices. And just walking the primrose path of a happy and well-disposed imagination. And then I got around to what happened to do that to me. Like, what put me in that position. Like, why of all days? Like, I often feel good for no reason, but today I felt like there might have been a reason. And I didn't really come up with it. I knew that I had something. And that's why I started journaling, and it came up in journaling. And it came up in journaling. It wasn't a dream journal. I don't remember the dreams I had last night. I remember kind of bits and pieces, but it was what happened between them. I've been waking up early in the morning and not being able to go back to sleep so easily. And this time, just wrestling myself back to sleep, essentially, some really cool stuff came up, and I talked about that. And I got specific, and it was kind of like that episode, Anxiety Blooms on the Wind, that we did. It was like, oh my god, oh, that's right, I went to this place. And then I judged myself for going to this place. And now I'm watching myself going to this place and judging this place. And now I'm looking at the judgment, and I'm thinking about it in different terms. What's it trying to do for me? It's not trying to hurt me. It's just it wants me to live. It wants me to be safe. And the default patterns have kept me alive this long, so why not keep employing them? That's what the unconscious does. It doesn't act, it reacts. It doesn't know time, it doesn't know the past or the present. It just knows. It doesn't have words for any of this. It doesn't have words at all. It's just this mass that does this thing. And it works for you. It always works for you. Or at least if it had thoughts, it would think that it's doing that. And so when you have a conversation with a part of yourself, you're not having a conversation with a malign entity. It's just another part of this structure that wants you well and alive and to be big and strong and have a happy life. Unfortunately, it also is not aware of the consequences of those patterns replaying themselves out through always an eternity. But the infrastructure is all there to set intentions into and disrupt the pattern with just being present for a second. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. And of course, what happened as soon as I did that? I got curious instead of mad. I got compassionate instead of annoyed. And the judgment, the moment that force touched the judgment completely liquefied it to nothing. As soon as it realized that there was no enemy to fight, there was no reason. And I had to bring that up. That's why I'm doing this right now. I had to bring it up because it was a perfect development of some of the stuff that we've been doing on the podcast. And it just worked out so well. I had to write about it. So I did. And then I realized why I had put the marshmallow in the coffee that morning and why I had put the hot chocolate in there to celebrate. It was to celebrate. That's exactly why I did it. So, happy times, happy people, happy run. It was such a happy run. I was in so much pain. You guys, I might have been doing 4 miles an hour just trotting. I was in so much pain just trotting along on these blisters. And I was having the time of my life. It was the best. So, when I lost it and I got home and I realized what had happened, I laughed. And then I was also like, oh, my heart. And then I thought to myself, well, this is just one more opportunity to consider. We might go back to other things that we brought up during the podcast, but right now I'm thinking about this feeling that I had when I lost the footage, because I have a history of being really salty when I lose footage. And this time I didn't feel quite so salty, but like it was just it was the perfect run. It was still, if you guys can believe this, it was still the perfect podcast. I can't do it wrong. There's no way to do the podcast wrong. The absurdity of that. I can't believe that I have the ability to do anything that way, or even to see that things could be done that way. That is a really optimistic way of looking at things, and I'm just not used to this space, but I'm here. And that's why we do this podcast, so we can express things like this. It's crazy. So I had to bring that up. I had to journal it. I had to celebrate it. I had to bring it up in the podcast. I had to podcast, period. I couldn't believe that I had to, but I did. I got the call, and I did it. And God, here we are. So I did that, and what else? What else came up? I had talked about losing the previous episode's footage of like an hour and a half or whatever it was, because right around the time that I realized that I had been really running for a long period of time, also around that time I improvised a second sequence for Valiant and Luigi to fight a bunch of zombies off to, and had a great time constructing this illustration in real time, completely improvised, looking like a fool, just blathering in public about, oh, he fucking drop kicks the zombie and he then leans over the bar, it looks like he's gonna fall, but he flips around and does a heel kick because he's Mario. It was so much fun. But right around that time, after that second sequence, which was of course out of sequence with the first sequence because it's improvised, so what the fuck does timing matter anyway? I found myself at that hill, the special hill, right? The hill that we love going up and dying on, and then, it levels out and it goes down for a sec, and we go up for a brief second rise. And there's been a lot of construction throughout the podcast episodes on that road, and sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. And in the last time that I had run up there, and this is what I talked about, last time that I had run up there, or tried to run up there was so much construction in the inlet to that road that I just ended up taking a right going through the city back home and cutting myself off from that extra running, because I'd been in similar pain the last time. It wasn't that long ago. It was a week ago that I did my last run that was of any length, and it was surprising. I surprised myself. I ran like an hour. This one was about an hour and a half, and it felt really good to do both these runs. So I had to talk about it, right? I couldn't bring you guys with me. I mean, I could publish these episodes, it would be 3 chronicles of one episode. I didn't record the last time, but I recorded this time. And it would be mute, but it's still me running, and I guess you can imagine me putting words in my own mouth. But, oh my god. C'est la vie, right? This is the life. So, I did the shave, I did the shower, I was listening to some podcasts and having a great time. It's a Monday, so it would be a really, really slow work day, so I'm not working today, probably. I mean, I might. The best time to decide would be after I get off of this, because it would be, 4 or 5 or something like that, right? That's right, it's only 3. Either way, right around 5 is the dinner rush, which would be the biggest time to be out and about doing my food delivery thing. And so I might decide to do that. But this was the time to do this. I did the shave. I jumped in the shower. I got refreshed. I checked my blisters. They were fine. I didn't cut myself too many times shaving. I took my time, and I still had this resonating feeling that I wanted to do my part to show up for, because pendulums work both ways. And when I say pendulum, what I really mean is something closer to ringing a bell. You ring a bell, a vibration goes out. Depending on the kind of a bell, it could go out for a long time and a long distance. But I'm thinking in time right now. And that can happen, right? And you have to bang that thing to make it happen. And this morning, I got it. My ears were ringing with it, and I had to let it out. And as I did, it kept doing itself. These are like self-sustaining fires. If you just put in the initial fuel, it just burns. From bells to birds. I'm just gonna mix my analogies endlessly, like I always do. It's my podcast. You're used to this. I'm used to this. And so throughout all this experience, I kept that feeling, and I want to keep that feeling for as long as I can. I want to live here. My intention is to live here, and whatever I have to do to get to that point, nothing is off the table. It's a big, badass world full of tools, and they're just ready for me. They're ready for me. Somewhere out there is camera equipment. I might have it right now. That just working it into my schedule, working it into my life, we'll have this podcast back up and running. Somewhere out there is the money that's coming. Somewhere out there are the opportunities and the handshakes and the vacations and the people, the women. Oh my God, the people that I'm out there to mentor. They might not even be people yet. Who knows? The people and the times and the things that make life so rich. The seeds were planted long before I got here, and those trees are going to be growing long after I'm gone. We're just riding a wave. It's just a crest on the wave. And the importance cannot be understated of stating that. That's why I'm doing this right now. That's why. And going back to it, it is something that wants to be stated. That's why I do this podcast, and I'm trying to think of anything else. Did anything else come up in that run that I really wanted to say, because it was just such a perfect podcast? There was not a moment of it that I didn't like. I sat down in the chair. We got back to the deck. We back facing the hedge like we always start and finish, right? Or almost always. I was back there, and I was like, I don't want to sit in the chair. I want to do what we always do, and sit on the stairs of the deck. That's what we always do. And then we always breathe a couple of times at the end of these podcasts, right? So we did. And I had a great time. And I ended it with my outro. I stole it from the Truman Show. It was, and if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Because I was silent for a minute. I didn't know how to wrap this bitch up. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep going. But my legs are human legs, and we could do it. I'm glad I didn't, because it would have been more lost footage. Next time, who knows? We might be out there for 2 hours or 3 hours, probably with a brand new headset. Or probably with other camera equipment that I've got, or we'll just bare bones it. We'll just raw dog it, and maybe the phone's microphone will suffice if I hold it close enough. Who knows? Who knows? Depending on how traffic is, I don't want to blast you guys with traffic and horns and shit. One thing about the podcast that's cool is, one thing about the headset that's cool is that it does kind of do a little bit of a job to relegate the sound quality and kind of tighten and focus it to what I'm doing, right? So There's all that. There's all that. We did the podcast. We did the Runcast. It was fantastic. It was a groovy time. I was just elated, and I'm still elated. And it's just going to keep happening. I don't expect it to change. I expect this to keep on rolling. And when things do change and I start feeling a bit more somber again, maybe the sun will go down. That's often a good time for things to be like, well, maybe everything's not perfect. And who knows how this all is going to work out and everything. But, I want to continue to surf this wave. So that's why we're doing this. That's why the cliff notes and everything. I know I've said that like 1,000 times. Oh, this is why I do the pod. And this is why I'm doing this Sitcast with Boneboy. I do want to put something up today. So we're going to put this up today. So cheers to that. Buy some time, drink some water, and think if I want to say anything else. Oh my god, it's not enough. More water needed. More water needed. We'll have to do something special when we come back to the Runcasts. Go on a super big one or something like that. And in the meantime, perhaps I'll keep practicing. Because that did come up today. What was it? I had acknowledged and recognized early in the podcast today. It was like 15 minutes in, let's say, 10 minutes in. I talked about how I haven't been running that much. And how it feels so good to run again. And it hurts so good, Oh my god, it hurts. Wait, maybe you guys can hear this. Wait. Sweet relief. Wait. Anyway. That's either ASMR fuel or misophonia. I think that's what it's called, misophonia fuel. But I was talking about how I hadn't been running that much, and I was happy not to. In some ways, I was freeing up more time for work and for longer extended mornings with more of the random whatever occurs to me in that moment is what I want to do sort of thing. It's just, that was the natural shift, and I allowed myself to go down that path. And it was good for a lot of things. It was definitely a part of a lot of great work days, having slightly longer mornings, less to do. There's always a bit of a time crunch feeling to these mornings when I wake up in good time, but have a run of indeterminate length ahead of me before I do what I really want to be doing, and that's hitting the lunch rush, starting out the day's shift that way. And that always lends itself to a clear back end of the day, because I can choose to bring in bonus numbers during the dinner rush later that day and finish my shift 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours in, or go home early and know that I made my 100 pretty quickly. Because I started in a busy time, right? You don't want to start 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing's happening at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, recently it has been because it's been holidays, but you know what I'm saying. So I talked about that, and it's been a couple of months of this where it was like, every few days is the hour and a half run or the hour run, and then you intersperse a couple of half-an-hour runs in between, and even that wasn't that much running. Like, that was still a curtailed running from what things were like for periods of this summer and early fall. And that turned into 20 minutes, half-an-hour runs, but I'm doing them 5 days in 6, that kind of thing, and that petered off and to maybe every other day, and then it petered off to, well, I'm just doing them when I occasionally. So maybe a few a week of 30-ish minutes runs. And that's why my knees hurt so much. That's why the blisters are so big. That's why I've got other ones too. Oh my god, they don't look great. Anyway, all that aside, that's just other stuff that we brought up in the podcast, and I almost feel like having a third cup of coffee. We might do that today. Did I finish mine? Yeah, I did. But maybe this is a trend, and we're coming back into the tradition. Because I love the running, and I buy that time at great pain. Even though I'm in pain physically when I'm running a lot of the time. these days, especially with these longer runs without any preparation. My joints are like, what the fuck, dude? You've been off of us. Ugh. Make it regular or don't do it. That's what my joints are saying. But yes, we might be doing this more often again. And since it's the holidays, and maybe I'll just work off a few extra shifts and purchase myself some equipment, or purchase some additives to the equipment that I have, which might allow me to podcast easily again. I've been needing a headset for so long, it's time. In fact, I came into a couple of bonus numbers on Christmas. I was given some wonderful gifts, and maybe I'll use those gifts to purchase a headset for my podcast. That might be a cool show of gratitude to have the numbers that come to me mean something, which they already do. I've reworked my relationship with money and numbers so much these last couple of years. I mean, year and a half, let's say. It has been staggering. I'm so happy. It's this entity that wants to flow and it wants to grow. And I want to help it. And I want to get mine while I do it. And looks like that's starting to happen, which is really cool. But it takes its time. And I've been giving it its time, and I've been prioritizing it pretty heavily. And so things like running fall into the background, and podcasting especially. All those runs. How many of those runs did I do? I ran 20 or 30 times in the last few months. And that's not even that much for me. It should be. There's that judgment again, right? But it would have been like 90 runs these last 3 or 4 months. Like, it would have been a lot higher. But we've tapered off. And so I've had more morning time. I've had more afternoon time and space in between my shifts and that kind of thing. Or I would be running, but am at that point having a meal instead, since that's when I'm going to eat that day, or that kind of thing. So the trade-off, what I'm trying to say is the trade-off is what the trade-off is. It's this work-balance relationship, this work-balance dynamic that we all have to decide for ourselves how to deal with. Maybe I didn't get super into it on the podcast today, but I did say at least a couple of those things, and I talked about how I had tapered off and how I'm not necessarily back, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying where I'm at, and we might have to do a little bit more running. And that's just the thing. That's pointing at the same thing that I was just alluding to, which was that what I traded for that time was that's not great for my joints. My knees like consistent pressure and a consistent rise, or a consistent, at least something to press the blood into the joints, and then we can stretch and sort of maneuver things into proper alignment and make a healthier body. But so I've traded that, and I've also traded sanity as well. Like we talked about, remember how our favorite word, one of them, was bandwidth? Bandwidth, man. You have to use it to make it. It's the same as currency. I'm thinking of all these things in terms of currency and transition and economics and transitions of things from this to there, and you got to spend some to make some and that kind of thing, right? Same thing with your own energy. And God, it was cool. It was cool to see that happen. Sorry, my big toe is under the Nintendo box that's holding up the laptop so high. If I look like you're looking at me from one side of the lava lamp, I'll let you guess which one. Okay, so I guess I said it all. I'm pretty happy with what I've said. I did take that trade, but looking back on it, I found value in that trade. I found a lot of value in just working a little bit more and having looser days. And exercising my adult freedom always feels interesting when it takes me in a direction that I didn't anticipate before. And I didn't anticipate things tapering off to the point that they did. But I just kept listening, and it kept saying, prioritize this thing, get good at this. Well, in the last couple of weeks, in the last 3 weeks, I've lost 2 tires in my car. I've been using friends' cars to drive and to make my money. I've held a negative account balance for a little while, so that's rough. There's been a lot of things. I almost got sick. I cat sat across 2 houses with this borrowed car, and some of the cats didn't get along with other of the cats, and I didn't have them all together. This is a 2-house situation, but there was a lot of bandwidth usage in that way as well. It was also storming. It was also ramping up in business levels because it was getting close to the Yuletide celebration, aspect of this culture. So a lot of folks were out on the roads and a lot of folks weren't driving so politely. And I was just feeling like this is a prime position to prioritize this trade, So I did. I walked once for 1 week. When I was doing the double cat sitting, I walked once that week. There was a break in the action. The rain ceased for like half of 2 of those days of that week when I was doing the dual cat sitting thing, and it was pissing down when it wasn't clear. So when it became clear near the end of that week, I was like, oh my god, I don't know how long this is gonna last. And it did rain on me when I got out there. I didn't run, but I walked. And it was something, and that's what wanted to happen. If I keep listening, it'll keep doing the right thing. I'll keep being guided. It's a practice. It's a practice, I guess. As I listen harder, instinct will communicate better, and the messages will be better as well, I think. If that makes any sense. I don't know. It reminds me, I brought up magic in the podcast today. And it's the thing that isn't there, and then it's there in the dream, the big dream. The big dream and the big heart. Yeah, it reminds me of that for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, it was important for me to bring this up, and I did. So I don't know if there's anything else to say, really. I mean, we could do a broadcast. I did my breathing this morning. Hell, we may as well update, right? So I did my breathing. I did my drills. I did my journal. I talked about those experiences that I had had. And with the anxiety and the, you're trying to take care of me thing. And, I can apply this not just to anger and not just to my whatever else, other aspects that I don't like looking at so much, but I can also do it here. To my self-tyrannizing self, to the self that comes after the self that I don't like talking about or looking at. Even the self that judges that self. I can talk about the judgment too, and it's just trying to help me too. All that stuff, I brought all of it up, and we had a full podcast. I lost it. It's back. and yeah, like I was saying, we could, now that we're all updated and stuff, up to date, we could do a breathcast right now, or later, maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we could. We could show drills. We could do a yoga session. We could do a Tai Chi session, and we could do any number of those things, or all of them. But then it wouldn't be Boneboy doing a Sitcast, would I? I would be doing a Tai Chi cast. I'll think about that. I'll consider possible vectors for the rebranding of this most venerable and auspicious podcast. This most August of podcasts. Because after all, my name is Justin. And Justin comes from Augustus, which comes from August, which means well-appointed and just. And all those things. You hear people talking about August rulers, of ancient civilizations and that kind of thing. This is August. This is a well-appointed podcast. It's just the ticket, just the thing. For me, anyway, and that's why I'm doing it. So we've been talking for 38 minutes. I can't believe that we have. It took an hour and a half to say the first time. But then again, I'm not panting and fighting for my life and for breath and pouring glass and chalk into my joints while we're doing it. So maybe that's why. I also didn't hit exactly all the beats and all the points. I got kind of vulgar and visceral on the nature of my anxiety and judgment this morning between sleep cycles. I got a little, I do that. I get lewd, and I didn't need to, but I did. And it's part of the flavor of what makes the podcast. But it was also like, I don't have to get into it too much. The essence of it was what the essence was, and I conveyed the essence a few times clearly in the 39. And then we've been doing this together. God, we could do anything with this podcast, This has always been how it is. We always could do whatever we want with it. It's crazy. I could update you on my hours meditated board. I'm looking at it right now. I've got to tally my 96th tally in my 300 hours since I started that thing in September 8th of 2017, so in the last 4 years. We could talk about that sometime. We could do book reviews. God, I like doing these things when I'm running. But that's just the thing. When I'm running, I'm not here. And a lot of cool things are here. I could be doing readings from my fucking dream journals if I wanted to. That'd be fun. There's any number of things. We could fucking fold laundry together. We could do the Ranger Rolling tutorial. Not that I'm doing that every time anymore. Yeah. We could do any number of things. I could bring you along for my coffee. We could have coffee cast tomorrow. That's interesting. That's interesting. I did think today when I was on the trail, I was thinking during my podcast, I don't know if I said this aloud, but I was considering turning my journals into audio journals, because these things start taking up some bulk. One of the main reasons why I started doing YouTube stuff is because YouTube provides an endless storage vector for me. And this, I've only had this journal for for half a month? No. 20 days, something like that. 20 days. 20 days. Look how fucking thick that is. That's so many. That's so many. Oh my god, it's so many. It's since November 7th, so fine, like 40, whatever, 40 days or whatever. Whatever it is, 50 days. Still, these journals get thick. Ugh, I wrote all these books that were intended to be a complete series. I called them the Down Books. And, God, they didn't go anywhere. They were just journals. They were fun. But I made like 6 of them, and they're each hundreds of pages. It's crazy. Some bigger than others. That last one, though, was like 250 pages. It was huge. It was in an orange notebook, just like that one. Just like that one, but instead of being here, it was like, oh shit. It was like here. It was like, it was crazy. It was ridiculous. It was redonk. It was redonk like funk. So, I could do Let's Plays too. That's my TV right there. I wouldn't know how to start, but we could do Let's Plays. Whew, I couldn't publish them because I have no intention of asking for authorization from different entities like Capcom and Nintendo and stuff. I've heard that they're very gracious, generous, and easy to receive authorization from, so you can publish content with their games. We could do a Let's Play channel, though. Might be interesting. I don't want to get sued. But I could have a good time doing that. Okay, that's the third ant I've pulled off of my mini fridge in a day. I'm starting to think we might have something going on down in there. I don't have any food, though. Well, I also haven't swept in a long time in here. Well, actually I did, but I missed the perimeter of the bed. You know how that is. You get between the bed and the wall and you get all the fucking shit out of there. I didn't do that part. That's next. Maybe today. I'm gonna sweep today anyway. We could do Sweepcast with Boneboy. Fuck. The resources are endless, The mind is unlimited, except what constraints we put on it. We can do anything and be anybody and go anywhere. We just make our lives up as we go along, and the possibilities are endless. It's really something. Let's make it a solid 45 minutes. Let's bring another minute into this thing. I don't know how. I am starting to have to pee because it's been more than 5 seconds. God, what else could we do? We could eat, because that's an unattractive thing that brings out the worst in people when they're on camera. So say the people who do the Hot Ones challenges, we could do a Hot Ones challenge. Oh, I would have to buy the hot sauces. I would rather buy the headset and just go back to running. Because running is so easy to do. It's like so easy to get motivated and psyched up for. Hot sauces are as well, but they're more expensive. Running is cheap. I just have to feed my body. I don't even have to pay medical bills because I'm watching what I'm doing. Like today, I dodged traffic a little bit. There was a road. It's after the walk spot. I was laughing about the hilarity and the absurdity of what I had painted when it came to the story of Valiant. When it came to the scenes that I had made up in my head. I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. Meanwhile, I'm on this road that has a steep drop off on either side, and the bike lane is maybe a foot, into the road. So you get like a foot of clearance. And it's a nice wide road, and it's a well maintained road in most places. At least in the place where I run. But for a few hundred feet there, it's pretty dicey. The speed limit is like 40 or 45. Everybody does 50, 55. Big trucks love that road, RVs and big country trucks and rancher trucks and horse carriages and, well, horse containing vehicles. Horse. You know what I'm trying to say. They drive all over that shit and they drive fast and they don't look. So if you don't want to bail into a ditch, you got to be careful. So I switched back a couple of times to the opposite side of the road when traffic was a little thick. It was hairier than I thought that it was going to be. It was thicker than I thought it was going to be. So we dodged some traffic. Why did I bring that up? This is really just like Runcast. There's no wrong way to do it. Whatever comes, comes. We can have a conversation. As ludicrous as it is, there's nothing wrong with it, I got a piece of fucking refracted light on my chin. It looks like I have a snowy beard. In my view, of course I'll look back at this and see what's going on when it comes time to publish. But, it is what it is. Oh, can you hear my shoulders crack? Ah, it didn't do it. Ah, it didn't do it. Yeah, we'll do something like that. If I choose to podcast again, I'm going to consider it. I'll consider doing a Tai Chi drill cast and a walkabout of my activities. We could drink some coffee together, or I could fire up a video game and comment and have a good old time. I've got some retro games I've been thinking about anyway. God, we could have a good time. I can certainly rant and jive, can't I? It's been 47 minutes now. So, let's call it. If you see me again a moment from now, it's because I did more of these, or it's because I decided that this wasn't enough and I want to do a breathcast. So, we'll see how that works out today. Later, you might see me do any of those things, or all of them. Shoot, we could walk around the yard and eat some persimmons. We could do a bunch of things. You can't see out those windows right now, but if you could, you would, from the angle that you're at, you would see artichokes because they're tall right now, and you would see a rapidly falling down persimmon tree. And right now there happen to be electric lime green tiny birds just fluttering, hummingbird-like. They look like hummingbirds. They're not hummingbirds, though. And there's squirrels racing across the fence like they always do, and they'll pause and stare at you from like 20 feet away. There's a broken out fence back there. But anyway, we will. I'm not exploring the yard with you guys. It's too close to home. But what I will do is consider doing a Hot Ones challenge, or a Let's Play, or something else. If I feel like it. Could do drills. Why not do drills? Why not just show you guys Tai Chi? Why not? Or do a dream journal. Do a dream journal read along. Oh man, that could be fun. We could even do a book on tape if we wanted to. We could fucking sit here. We could sit here, you and I, and we could just read Peaceful Warrior. That's interesting. We could read the other Peaceful Warrior books. Oh my god. All right. We're getting out of control over here, all right? No promises. Instead of promises, we have a sailboat, some kind of a frog thing. We have curtains. Got a television and a mini fridge. Got my water. Got my ever so wonderful New York coffee mug. Cheers. There's nothing in there. And we've got yours truly, explaining what was going on, how the times have been. They've been great. How the runs have been. Well, now that I'm doing them again, at least now that I've been doing them again, they've been great. Very painful, but great. Some of the best times I've had. And we said goodbye to our headset. I mean, who knows how long that last bit of life it has left in it that occasionally allows sound to process through the mic, and also allows, one speaker, it's this one actually, one speaker to work. Who knows how long that'll last for. It's time for new equipment. We'll upgrade. Then we'll do Upgrade Cast with Millennium Boy. commentaries on the Snake Bros and Randall Carlson. We could talk music. We could do a lot of the things that I do when I'm running out there. We don't need to be running for it specifically. We could do music reviews. Remember how we do music reviews on the show sometimes? That could be fun. We could do family-friendly stuff too. We could just not swear for one of these or two of these. Although most breathcasts, I think, I've not sworn that much. God, am I going to end this thing or not? I really got to pee. I was actually going to pour myself some vodka and have a drink with you guys, but maybe that is another idea that could happen sometime. Oh, I'd rather it be a good-looking drink like a whiskey or something. Or something out of my... I've got to show you guys. Oh. Some friends gave me this. Some close and badass friends gave me this. Currently, one of my very most treasured possessions. This is what appears to be a cut wine bottle. I mean, you can see it from the bottom too. See the indent part? It seems like it's a wine bottle, but it was just cut when it was emptied. And so technically recycled into a beer drinking glass. Drinking a tall, cold one sometime would be kind of nice too. We'll see. In the meantime, maybe I'll stretch later. Maybe I'll do a dinner shift. But these are all ideas I'm percolating on. I'm just excited to have gotten out today. And I was excited to do the podcast. I was excited to feel so good having felt so bad at like 4 o'clock this morning between sleep cycles and so antagonizing of my own inner peace. Any time that I can ever claw, scrape, or fall ass backwards into a victory in that condition, that is not something that I keep to myself anymore. Not if there's a way to articulate it. You find a way. It comes out in the journals, or it comes out in conversations you have with loved ones, where it comes out in the way that you think about how the future might be, or it comes out in how you can bring yourself to the present and you just notice it without having to do or say anything. It comes out in all these ways it expresses, and I can help it along by using things like my words and this podcast and my life's story. Big or small, whatever kind of a story it ends up being, if any, that can be articulated. I'm just happy. It's a happy moment. So it's very good to share, and it's one of those things I don't always share. At least not on purpose, like I said. It just kind of does itself, and the gratitude just kind of comes anyway, right? It can't really be helped, but just doing it consciously and verbally with my conscious self, the last guy in the door at the party really is the conscious self. And to use that self to just bring its own unique flavor to the party and express this gratitude using this language mechanism and things like this program, which relies on tech made by the conscious selves of how many people practicing their crafts. Yeah, it's all good. I'm in a good place. Hope you guys are too. So, with that, oh yeah, I guess we always end these with 3 breaths, right? Let's do it. That wasn't one. I'll tell you when we do. Sorry, you can't see that. Now you can see that. That wasn't one of the breaths. This one is. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. I miss Prince too. He's right here. All right, you guys have a good one. Take it easy. Happy holiday season. Happy upcoming New Year's. Happy Sitcast with Boneboy, or whatever the fuck this is going to be called. I'll keep it in mainline. I'll end on this note. I'm going to keep it in mainline with the regular series. Whether this is a one-off or if I decide to do more, I'm going to do my best to just keep the line going. It's like Breathcast. I number the episodes of Breathcast, but I also have them within the series. It's like episode whatever it was also Breathcast 3 or whatever, So look forward to that if I decide to do it more anyway. And yeah, I'll figure that out. I'll turn this off. I'll get on YouTube. I'll start uploading. I'll review this first. I always do before I upload, just in case I say anything hysterically racist or that kind of thing. But since I'm not editing these, God only knows what's going to come out of my mouth next. Oh, the Jews! Oh my God. Funny, I've got Jewish heritage myself. My fucking graying, curly ass hair. Look at my nose. That's me right there. See, we just did it. There we are. I'm still probably going to upload this. But, God. What was I going to say? I'm going to upload this after doing all that. And then I'll find the number episode that it is. And this will be that episode of Runcast, even though we're not running. And if I want to break it up later, then we will. And if we want to make this into a side project or something like that, we will. There's no wrong way of doing it. I just like watching the numbers go up. So for now, this is what we're going to do. All right. Anything else on the docket? See my blister again. Yeah, look at that thing. It's so hard to see. There it is. Whoop. It's like the size of my nail. It pokes out quite a bit. It's poking out about a centimeter. If I had to use that kind of... Oh God, there's another one right beneath it. Oh, it's 2 blisters. You son of a bitch. Yeah. Okay. That's as good a way of any. This has been Ride Along with Runman / Sit Along with Sit Boy, Butt Man, Broom Sweep, Fella, Fire in the Heart, expectations low, morale is high. Let's get it. Love y'all.